God, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I forgot to turn my mic on. Listen. It's been like a year since I used social media, so cut me some slack because I don't remember how. Um, yep, I'm live on Twitter. Okay, good. So I think I should be okay. I see you should be able to hear me now. Can you guys hear me? All good. Someone says all good. People are still saying you can't hear me. Can you hear me or not? Hold on. You got to be able to hear me. Slack, because I don't remember how. You can hear me. All right. All right. All right. You guys, like, where do we even begin? Like, where do we even start here? All right, this is my very first live video since I got arrested on January 25th of 2021. It's been a really, really, really hard year, and it's things are going to get better now. I think things are going to get easier, and we're going to get everything back to work. We're going to get rocking. We're going to get cooking. But yeah, it's been really bad. I mean, it's been really, really, really bad. And honestly, I was doing quite well. I mean, in spite of everything, I was doing quite well up until December. And in the month of December, everything just got 1,000 times harder than it had been, even for this entire year. And, the reason I think is because I had I'd gotten into a rhythm with enduring everything that I was going through, all of the negative media, all of the negative press, all of the lies, all the accusations against me, all the, he did this, he did that. Oh, he's an insurrectionist. He's a terrorist. He's, all of this crap. And then it was like the government had one more really nasty trick up their sleeve. And I want to tell you what one of my lawyers said, because I think that he was right on the money. But, one of my lawyers said that they believe that the government was experiencing buyer's remorse with the fact that they felt like, I hadn't been punished enough, or they hadn't made me suffer enough, or the fact that I think that there was this expectation that if they dragged this out long enough and things were made bad enough, that eventually my following would leave me, or that, people would turn their backs on me or whatever. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And so in December, they put out this document publicly to the court, which said that they wanted to meet with me again, and that I was expected to provide information that might result in a change to my sentencing recommendation, something like that. Well, within 5 minutes, these media headlines started coming out saying, Trump ally expected to provide significant information about January 6th. And it was, I was just like losing my mind. I went to my attorneys and I said, we've got to address this. Like, you have to let me put out a statement. And my attorney said, we are this close to getting you to your sentencing. You've been behind the scenes this whole time. You've been quiet. So he said, no, let's just get through this. Once we get through this, you can address it. You can talk about it. And it was devastating to me. Devastating. I mean, I was calling everyone I knew up on the phone and being like, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking, and, but that really kind of began the process of kind of breaking me down spiritually, because I was just like, we're this close to the end of the criminal case. And it was like just this nasty, nasty thing that they did, to try to make things so much worse. And for me, it did. I mean, I really, really had a hard time going through all of that. Thanks, you guys. I see your comments. You're saying you're praying for me. Thank you. If you're watching this right now, if you're watching it, whatever, on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Getter or Rumble, wherever you're watching it, please share right now. Take a moment, hit the share button, hit retweet. copy the link, put it on your socials, whatever you need to do. Let's get a lot of eyes on this, because this is my first time speaking out with everybody since I'm now coming back. And God, it's so good to be back with all of you. I can't even tell you. So there's a lot of stuff a lot of ground I want to cover with all of you guys tonight, because there's a lot of things that you don't know. And the fact of the matter is, I think unless I take my own story into my own hands, there's a lot of things you probably never will know. Because, I mean, I have to tell you, I am so disappointed and so saddened and disheartened and frustrated by the fact that the majority of the mainstream conservative media will not talk about this. And I did not expect it to be that way. You know, I had a major interview lined up to do last week with Mark Levin. It was supposed to be on Fox News. It was supposed to be on Life, Liberty, and Levin on Sunday night on Fox. And it wasn't Mark at all, but Fox pulled the interview and I guess decided it was too controversial for them to want to talk about. And I mean, I guess I'm speculating. That's the assumption, but it's really, that was kind of devastating and crushing to me too, because, you know, if you watch Tucker or you watch, you know, a lot of shows on Fox, they're talking about January 6th every day, but it's just all they're talking about is Ray Epps and you know, the FBI infiltrators, but they don't want to actually like let somebody tell their eyewitness account, somebody who was there, somebody who and listen, I would understand if I were accused of physically assaulting someone, or, you know, doing something really egregious, you know, beating the hell out of somebody or busting open a window and crawling in the Capitol. Like, I would understand, honestly. But I was charged with a non-violent Class B misdemeanor for disorderly conduct for being on the east side of the Capitol steps, on the steps, for 8 minutes. Okay? That's, and this is something, you know, as long as we're on the topic of kind of taking my own story back, as I was telling Mark Levin, for those of you, and if you haven't watched the interview, I mean, watch this entire live video, and then when you're done watching this live video, go to YouTube, go to Levin TV, and watch my on-camera sit-down interview with Mark Levin, where we unpack my entire experience and watch my video of the time that I was at the Capitol. I told Mark, and I'm trying to get people to understand, because, again, the conservative media has completely lost control of the story of January 6th. I mean, they lost control of it instantly, but then they waited too late to talk about it. So there are 4 sides to the Capitol building: north, south, east, and west and east. The violence and window smashing and wall scaling and all of those things that you saw occurred on the west side of the building. And yet anybody who was arrested, if they were on the north or south or east side, were all considered insurrectionists. We're all considered terrorists. And also, it doesn't even matter what you did. It doesn't matter if you have a non-violent misdemeanor, if you have a parading, you know, there are people who just went, some people literally walked into the Capitol through an open door. I mean, just quite literally, the door was open, they walked inside. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's not illegal or that they should have done it. That's not where I'm coming from. But I'm saying I don't think that those people deserve to be called terrorists and insurrectionists. And I'm saying that for me, who spent 8 minutes on the east side of the Capitol, I think that labeling me a domestic terrorist or an insurrectionist when I was there for 8 minutes and then I turned around and left is a little heavy-handed. And so it bothers me greatly that you have mainstream conservative media who loves talking about January 6th and loves talking about Ray Epps and loves talking about the FBI, but will not allow a high-profile conservative personality to tell their story about being arrested and labeled a terrorist and insurrectionist for the 8 minutes on the Eastside Capitol steps. So it's incredibly frustrating, and I don't understand what the hell is going on with that. But anyway, so I think if you guys watch the Mark Levin interview, and you need to, you should. If you haven't, make sure you do, because it really thoroughly digests my experience of what I actually saw and what I actually experienced. And then 2.5 weeks after January 6th, I was in my apartment, and I'm going to tell you guys a lot of stories tonight that I've never had an opportunity to tell you. And the reason why I've gone so quiet this entire year is because it was my decision, and it was my attorney's decision, and it was frankly very much the right decision, because as you can see, the conservative media cannot be counted on to help get stories out about this. And if I had gone and opened my mouth over the last year while my case was still being handled, what would have ultimately ended up happening was that every word that I saw would have turned into a left-wing story about how he's bragging about what he did, or he's proud of what he did, he's proud of the insurrection, or whatever. And the conservative media would have been like, we don't want to have you on, So I made it exactly the right decision, although it was a very difficult decision, to step back and not talk and just try to let this case play out. But it was on January 25th. Well, first of all, I want to tell you guys about a tweet that I read a couple of days before I was arrested. I think it was either the day before or 2 days before I was arrested. I'd been reading for 2.5 weeks. I had Twitter trolls tagging the FBI and telling them to arrest me, and it was getting under my skin, because it's hard to, every day you open your social media and it's just arrest Brandon Straka, arrest Brandon Straka, arrest Brandon Straka, at FBI. But about a day or two before I got arrested, there was a tweet that I read that just really made me it made my stomach turn. I can't remember what the exact words were, but the person said something along the lines of, "Don't sleep too well, Brandon Straka. FBI knocks happen at 6 a.m. And I read it and I was just like, ugh. And then on the morning of Monday, January 25th, which was literally like the next day or 2 days after I read that tweet, I woke up to the sound of knocking at my door. Knock, 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 knock. And at first I thought to myself that it was my maintenance guy in my apartment. And I was like, why is he here so early? Like, what is he doing? And then the moment that I was having that thought, the knock changed to boom, 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 boom. And I shot out of bed and I just went, oh my God, they really came. This really is happening. And I went running to the door because I could tell by the way they were pounding that if I waited too much longer, they were going to break it down. And so I ran to the door and I said, who's out there? And they said, FBI, open the door. And so I opened the door and there was a team of, I'd say 8 FBI agents in SWAT gear. Within 30 seconds, I was turned around and with my hands behind my back and handcuffed. And they told me that I was facing multiple felony charges for what I did at the Capitol. And they presented me with a search warrant. And at that point, the team of agents came into my apartment and started taking my computers, my hard drives, my phones, my tablets, my clothing, thumb drives, my camera, basically just about anything electronic equipment or computer equipment, anything like that they were taking. And the guy who I would call the lead agent in the case said to me, we want you to answer some questions for us. And I said, I'm sorry, but I can't answer any questions without an attorney. And he said to me, oh, so you're refusing to answer questions, or you're refusing to cooperate, or something like that. And I said, no. I said, no, 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 I have every intention of cooperating with you. I just said I need to have an attorney present when I do. And he said, okay, that's fine. And then at that point, they stood me up and paraded me down the hallway of my apartment with my hands cuffed behind my back, and took me downstairs and put me in a black car and drove me to jail. And I guess it bears mentioning that my case never began with the FBI coming to my house and saying, hey, we'd like to ask you some questions, or, why were you in DC on January 6th, or, is this you, or is this your voice, or is anything. I mean, any question. It never began like that. And I was never arrested on charges that were validated by a grand jury. What happened was that a family member of mine turned me in to the FBI. They sent the FBI a link to the video. It's my video that I posted on Twitter. I uploaded it and I said, this is what I saw at the Capitol. And from there, the FBI went to a judge and requested an emergency order to have me arrested based off of my video on Twitter. And that's what led to them coming into my house, putting me in handcuffs, and charging me with multiple felonies. So that's how this all began. It never even began with, we'd like to ask you some questions, get your side of the story, and then decide if a crime has been committed that we need to look at further. It was, this is what you did. This is what we know you did. We know this was you. We know you said this. We know you heard this. We know you saw this. We know this is what you did. And that's how it began. And so they took me to jail. I was processed into the jail system, which was horrifying. The first thing that happened was my mugshot was taken, and that beautiful mugshot that you guys have seen. I actually that mugshot got passed around a lot in the media and the left-wing news stories, and I actually read one of the stories that featured my mugshot. There were comments underneath in the story, and somebody in the comments actually said, all of these January 6th people just look dead, like dead behind the eyes, like they have no soul. Like, look at them, they all just look dead inside, like they're just empty, like they have no spirit. And I'm like, maybe because the FBI came in our house at 6 a.m. and scared the hell out of us and traumatized us, and then stuck a camera in front of us and took our picture. I mean, sorry, I wasn't ready, for the cover of French Vogue when I got pulled out of my bed at 6 a.m. and thrown in an orange jumpsuit and taken to jail. But anyway, they took my mugshot, made it into a bracelet, and put it on my wrist, and it had a number on it. So at that point, I became a prisoner in the jail system with no longer a name or an identity. It was just a number. From there, they took me into a room that was like a concrete cell, or not a cell, but stall, like a shower stall. And I had to take all of my clothes off, and I stood there naked with just my mugshot bracelet on in front of a stranger, who then brought me a pair of brown underwear and a brown t-shirt and a pair of orange pants and an orange smock and sandals. And that became my uniform for the rest of my time that I was there. And I just remember looking down at myself and just this like electric orange color all over me, and just feeling like a total scumbag. I mean, just feeling so ashamed and dehumanized by this experience. which is exactly how they want you to feel. And so from there, I went with my mugshot bracelet and my orange jumpsuit, and they took me into a room called medical. And there was a nurse guard in the medical room who, when I walked inside, he said, I need you to give me your arm. And I said, why? And he held up a syringe, started walking toward me, and said, I need you to give me your arm. He said all new inmates in the jail system have to take a TB test. And he grabbed my arm and stuck a syringe in my arm and injected a substance into my forearm, which formed a bubble. And he said to me, if that turns blue or purple, you might want to tell somebody. And that was the moment that I really, I think, became aware that I no longer had rights. I no longer had any choices about what did or didn't happen to me or what people did or didn't do. And you have to bear in mind, 1 hour before this, I was sleeping peacefully in my bed. I was a normal person. I was Brandon Straka. I was Brandon Straka, the founder of the Walkaway campaign. And now I'm prisoner number whatever in an orange jumpsuit with a complete stranger sticking a needle into my arm and injecting a substance into my forearm. And there is nothing I can do about it or anybody I can talk to about it, and nowhere I can go, no way to get away. And from there, they took me into another room for intake evaluation. And during my intake evaluation, it was a man who I describe as almost like a very sort of stoic military type of man. I mean, it was like no nonsense. Like they couldn't have picked a scarier person to do this job. And he said to me, I need to ask you a series of questions. And he was like, a lot of them are going to feel very inappropriate. But he's like, it's just standard procedure. This is what it is. And then he proceeds to start asking me questions like, have you ever had sex with a man? Why? Do you have AIDS? Have you ever been in a gang? Are you feeling suicidal? And then he said to me, this is the one I'll never forget. He said to me, if a fight breaks out in the jail, are you able to defend yourself? And I'm just going, how the hell did I suddenly find myself in the HBO series Oz? Like, what the hell is going on with my life right now? And when I finished getting my intake evaluation, they took me out to a waiting room where at that point I was allowed to use the phone. I got in touch with Libby. You guys probably know Libby Albert, the executive director of Walkaway. And I said, Libby, I've been arrested. I'm in jail. I said, they're telling me I can't see a judge because I kept asking, am I going to get to see a judge today? And they told me no. They said the court was closed because there had been a blizzard and that there was going to be no court. And I said, will I see a judge tomorrow? We don't know. We don't know if the courts will be open tomorrow. And I said, can anyone guarantee me when I'll be able to see a judge? Nope. We have no idea when you'll be able to see a judge. And they told me too, they said, by the time the courts reopen, your case will be further down the list. They said it might be the end of the week before. This is on a Monday. They're saying it could be Thursday, could be Friday, could be next week. We don't know when you'll be able to see a judge. And, but they had told me that I was going to be put in lockdown. So I already knew that I was going to be put in lockdown and that I could potentially be there until the end of the week. It could be until next week. No idea. And so I called Libby, we talked on the phone, and we had already hired Harmeet Dillon, the attorney, to do a First Amendment case for us on something else, on another matter. And Harmeet had told me, she said, look, if you end up getting arrested, because she said they're arresting anybody who even went on the steps. She was like, just so she was like, if you even went on the steps, you may get a visit from the FBI. And I did go on the steps, and I kept thinking to myself, well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's going to be okay. Well, now here we were. And Harmeet said, so if you end up getting a visit from the FBI or getting arrested, she said, contact me and I'll find you a criminal defense attorney. So Libby contacted Harmeet Dillon, and the three of us got on the phone together, and Harmeet found me one of my attorneys, because I have a couple now. And I got to speak to him. His name is Bill. So they were doing their best to reassure me, but I was really, really panicked at this point. And because I knew I was getting close to being put in the cell, they were going to come get me at any moment. And sure enough, a guard came out and said it was time for me to go. So at that point, I said to Libby, I have to go. I have to hang up the phone. And Libby told me at that point, she said, I want you to listen to me. She said, there are going to be long periods of time where you're by yourself, where you don't know what's going on. You're going to feel really scared, and you're going to feel really alone. And she said, but it's okay. She said, I want you to know that we're not going to stop fighting until we get you out of there. And we're going to get you out of there as fast as we possibly can. And I said, okay. And I hung up the phone, and then they took me upstairs to my cell. So I was put in a concrete room with a metal door, with a vertical window like this, that you could look out of the window with one eye at a time. You couldn't see with both eyes. And I was not in solitary confinement. I actually had a cellmate. They put me in a cell with a 4-time repeat drug offender, and that's where I stayed for the next 2 days. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. I began at that point to sort of break down, because this was January 25th. Joe Biden had become president 5 days before I got put in jail. The Democrats at that point, the Democrats had full control of every branch of the federal government. And I'm Brandon Straka, the founder of #WalkAway, walk away from the Democratic Party. And I didn't know what I was charged with. I just kept hearing what the FBI agent had said to me, which was that you're facing multiple felony charges for your involvement with January 6th. And so I'm in this cell thinking to myself, they're going to charge me with treason, with terrorism. They're going to make this as horrible as they possibly can. And I'm thinking to myself, the punishment for treason is death. The punishment for some of these other charges, we're talking about like decades in prison. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, I stood on the steps of the building for 8 minutes, and I'm sitting here thinking about how my life is now over. I'm like adding up the time in my head and adding up my age, and I'm going, I'm never going to see the sky again. I'm never going to go outside. I'm never going to see freedom ever again. They're never going to let me out of this cell. The judge is not going to order my release, and my life is over. And I started thinking about how I'm never going to see my parents again. I'm never going to see my grandmother again. I'm never going to have children. I'm never going, anything that I ever saw for my future is gone. My life is over. And you're in this cell for days, and there are no books. There's nothing to read. There's nothing. You're completely alone with nothing but your own thoughts and your thoughts of terror. And I really, really started to break down while I was in there. And I want people to know that it's a level of fear and terror and trauma that is almost indescribable. And again, if I had known that I was going to get out in 2 days, it would have sucked. It would have been horrible, but I would have gotten through it. But I had no idea. All I knew was that they told me the courts are closed. We don't know when the courts will be open again. We can't tell you when you're going to see a judge. You're facing multiple felony federal charges for what you did on January 6th. Joe Biden's the president. The Democrats are in control. And I just thought that the situation was absolutely hopeless. And so I sat there in my cell for days, just pacing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth between the bunk beds and the door. And it was exactly 4.5 steps between the door and the bunk bed, and the bunk bed back to the door. 4.5 steps and 4.5 steps and 4.5 steps and 4.5 steps. And I did that over and over and over and over and over again, hour after hour, for days, pacing back and forth and pacing back and forth. And when it got to be nighttime and my cellmate had fallen asleep, I actually got to the point where, and again, when I talk about the trauma and the fear, I've never experienced anything like this before. I was so scared that it was like every cell in my body was screaming, like almost like being on fire. And it was like being on fire, but you can't jump into water. There's nothing you can do to alleviate the pain. And that's what it was. It was a level of fear that actually manifested itself as physical pain all over my body. And I remember thinking to myself as I was pacing back and forth, and my cellmate was asleep on the first cell and I was on the second floor, that I started having thoughts of taking my sheet off of my bed and just wrapping it around my neck and tying it to the ladder in my cell and just squatting down and just choking out. And it wasn't that I wanted to die. I mean, it wasn't that like it wasn't that I was like feeling truly emotionally suicidal. It was that I wanted the fear to go away, because the fear was so debilitating and painful. And it was, I mean, my mind was just like just endless terrified thoughts. As a matter of fact, you guys sit tight. I'm going to show you something right now. I should have thought of this, but give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back because there's something I want you to see. Just hold on. I want you guys to see this. These are the pages that I wrote while I was in jail. So I sat there. All I had was a pen. They give you, well, I don't have anything. But if you took like just a regular, like ballpoint pen, and you remove the hard outer casing, and so that you just have the flimsy ink tube that's inside, that's what you get. So you have to hold it by the tip of the pen to be able to write. You have to hold it like this, because this is all gone and it's just the flimsy ink tube. And I had a stack of these papers because these were forms. If there was something that you needed, you had to fill out a form and give it to a guard. And, if you had some sort of necessity, it's a request form. And so I just sat there for hours and hours, either pacing back and forth like a lunatic, or writing. I just tried to write and write as much as I could. And I mean, it's really sad, honestly, the things I was writing. Here I wrote, lunch is coming soon. Then only a few more hours until rec, because they told us we were supposed to get 1 hour of rec time every day, which never happened. On either day, I didn't get any rec time. Hopefully all good news. Maybe a lawyer will visit. Maybe I'll see a judge today. I need to believe it. I need to believe I will. Writing helps a little to calm my frantic and panicked mind. I keep remembering memories from my life, speeches I've given. It goes on and on and on. And some of it's really personal, so I really don't want to read it right now. But I have written a book over this last year, and I'm going to put all of these writings in the book as I talk about my experience in jail. But that's just, I just sat there writing and writing and writing and writing and writing because there was nothing else that I could do. And my mind, it was keeping me, honestly, from tying my bed sheet around my neck and just trying to end the pain and the fear that I was feeling. And then finally, after a couple of days, my team got me a lawyer. My lawyer got me a virtual hearing with a judge. The judge ordered my release that day, and it was the most surreal and awful feeling in the world to be wearing an orange jumpsuit. I hadn't showered in days. I looked and smelled disgusting. And I'm standing there before a judge virtually as the judge says to me, "This is the case of the United States of America versus Brandon Straka." And I just broke down in tears because I could not believe. I'm thinking to myself, do they understand who I am? Do they understand that I actually am a person who's dedicated the last 3 or 4 years of my life to trying to do good things for our country, to try to help our nation, to try to make the country a better place? And now I'm standing here under the Joe Biden regime facing charges in the case of the United States versus Brandon Straka. And it's just crazy to me because I'm telling you, I was a Hillary Clinton supporter and I was devastated when Donald Trump got elected president. I mean, I was devastated. And I believed, because the media told me and all the left-wing liars told me that, Donald Trump just wants to do harm to minorities. Donald Trump wants to take people's rights away. Donald Trump wants to round up all the gay people and throw them in prison and I'm thinking, everything I was afraid that Trump would do to me actually happened under Biden. I've lost my rights. I've lost my freedom. My home has been raided. I've been put in a prison cell. And wow, I mean, that's irony for you. And so I got out of jail. The judge ordered my release. It was after midnight, that same day I guess the next morning, that I ended up getting out. I got released. Libby had flown to Omaha, so I went to meet Libby at the hotel. And because I knew what hotel she would be staying at. Now, the FBI had taken my phone, my computers, all my devices, things like that, so I didn't have a phone anymore. But I knew where Libby would be staying because whenever my team flies into Omaha, they always stay at the same hotel. So I went to the hotel where I knew she would be. And we hugged each other and we just held on to each other. And I asked her, how bad is it? How bad is the situation? And she took a deep breath and she sighed and she said, she started just listing off for me all the things. She said, well, we've been banned permanently from our fundraising platforms. We've been banned from our email platforms. Our accountant quit. Our IP attorney quit. I mean, she just started listing off all of these different things. And I just sat there and shook my head and I was just like, I can't believe. I mean, the amount of devastation that was done just in that matter of days while I was in jail. Unbelievable. And she said to me, listen, your life and your freedom are more important to me than any of this. She was like, we have done amazing things in the last few years with Walk Away. What we've done has been incredible and really against all odds because we really didn't get a hand up with Walk Away from anybody. We didn't. I mean, we didn't get embraced by the leadership of the Republican Party, or even the leadership of the last administration. I mean, there was we just were not really an organization that was respected or acknowledged the way that we really should have been. And I think, in fact, I think we would be in a very different position today if the leadership of the Republican Party and the leadership of the last administration had made more of an effort to bring us into the fold. I don't think we would all be where we are right now, but that's neither here nor there. We did incredible things despite the odds and despite the fact that we really didn't get a lot of acknowledgement or appreciation or respect. And Libby said, you know, we've done amazing things, and if we have to just shut this thing down, and you know, she's like, we can start another business, we can do, you know, we've already, look what we did with nothing, look what we built. And I kind of just took a breath, and I thought about it, and I contemplated that for a minute, and I was just like, no, we are not going to shut Walkaway down. We are not going to, no, we're not, we will not give that to them. They cannot have that. They cannot have everything that we have worked so hard to build, and everything that means so much to so many people, hundreds of thousands of people, probably millions of people, from coast to coast and around the world. We are not going to give that to them. No. And Libby kind of said to me, well, I knew you were going to say that. So, you know, I meant it, but, you know, I knew you were going to say that. And so at that point, we began the process of just beginning to rebuild everything that we lost over the course of those first weeks and months after I got arrested. The first thing that we did was went on a mission to try to find a conservative-friendly payment processor to replace our payment processors. Oh, because let me tell you that story. So it was, well, no, let me come back to that in just a sec, because I want to try to tell you everything that happened kind of in the order that it happened. And I made notes for myself because it's so many things. So 3 days after, I spent the first 3 days that I out of jail with Libby in her hotel room because I was too scared to go back to my apartment. I actually, when you're functioning with PTSD, you're not even thinking straight. You're not even making sense. Even though it was like days and days later, I still believe that the FBI was still in my apartment. And I also believe that they had bugs all over my apartment, and maybe they did, I don't know. But I was terrified to go back to my apartment because I thought to myself that I wouldn't have any sense of security or peace, and I believe that they might be there. And so it took me 3 days before I finally had the nerve to go back to my hotel, or to my apartment, I'm sorry. And when I got back to my apartment, Libby was with me. There was a letter taped to my door, and we took the letter, read it, and it was a notice from my apartment building telling me that I had 30 days to vacate the building, that I was being kicked out of my apartment. This is right after I've gotten out of jail, and I'm completely traumatized. My name is all over the news for being, a MAGA terrorist, a MAGA insurrectionist, and so now I'm just learning that I have 30 days to find a new place to live. Okay. So the next thing that happened was about, a week or so after that, I got a letter in the mail from the government telling me that my TSA pre-check status was revoked and that I was no longer considered a low-risk traveler. Now, I've had my TSA pre-check for years, never had an incident. I've never been found guilty of a crime. I mean, even at that point, I hadn't had a trial. I hadn't even pled guilty or not guilty. I had nothing. I hadn't had a plea. So I had no prior criminal record, no prior violent criminal record of any kind. But I'm now being told that I'm considered a dangerous traveler and that I no longer have TSA pre-check status. And I want you guys to understand that, like, for weeks and weeks, it was like this. Like, every time I opened my mailbox, or I would get these phone calls from different organizations saying, you're no longer allowed to do this, you're restricted from this, you're banned from this, you're... And so I developed such a trauma connected with just even opening my mailbox, and I still have it. Still have it. Every time I open my mailbox, I'm afraid, still, to this day. Because there were so many weeks and months that it was like every time I opened my damn mailbox, it was a letter from the government saying that, you know, you're restricted from this, or you're now on this list, or you're... And that's the next thing that happened, was that I had to take a flight to California. And so I went to the airport, and when I got to the airport, I was checking into a Delta flight, and the Delta agent was typing in my name and kept saying, well, this is strange, this is strange. He's like, you know, it's telling me I'm not allowed to check you in. And I was like, okay, why? And he said, I don't know, I need to make a phone call. So he gets on the phone call, and the phone call lasted more than 30 minutes, and I just had to stand there. And he had to call the airline headquarters, and the airline headquarters had to call TSA, and the three of them had to patch in together. And while this was happening, and he kept kind of like looking at me and being like, yes, you know, and I had a complete and total panic attack. And so I called my pretrial services officer, because when you're awaiting being put on trial, they assign you a pretrial services officer, which is like your probation officer. And pretrial supervision, in my opinion, is actually more strict than being on probation. You have to check in every week with your pretrial officer. You have to surrender your passport. If you're going to travel anywhere, you have to request permission. You have to give them copies of your plane ticket and your hotel reservation, and like, it's crazy. But luckily, I actually really liked my pretrial services officer, and so I called her, and I said, Julie, I'm at the airport, and I think I'm about to be arrested again. And she was like, why, what's going on? What's going on? And I said, I don't know. I was like, they're just being really weird, and they won't let me check in, and the guy on the phone is like looking at me and answering these questions. But I was like, I have permission to go on this trip, right? And she was like, yeah. She was like, I totally gave you permission to go. And she was like, look, I think you're going to be fine. But she was like, you call me. And she said, if anybody comes, have them call me, and we'll deal with this. I said, okay. So it took more than 30 minutes. And when they gave me my boarding pass, I have a picture for you guys. My boarding pass looked like this. So it had a designation on it, which is Quad S, or SSSS, as you're seeing here right now. And what that means is that I have been placed on a domestic terrorism watch list with TSA. I now have what is called a Quad S designation. What this means is it's the highest level terrorism list that you can be on and still be allowed to fly. So let me explain to you what this means. This now means, first of all, I'm no longer allowed to pre-check into flights. Like, I can't go on my phone or my computer and check into my flight online in advance. I have to check in at the terminal. And when I do that, every single time that I fly, it's that same process that I just told you. The person at the gate has to call the airline has to call TSA, and this phone call takes more than 30 minutes to make this phone call. And they ask me questions like, are you carrying firearms? Are you whatever? No, of course I'm not carrying firearms. Okay. So then they hand me my boarding pass after 30 some minutes, which looks like this. And then I have to go up to TSA. When I go to TSA and they scan my boarding pass, a red light goes, and it makes that sound. It goes, and they're alerted that I am in a Quad S passenger. So they have to have the head of TSA come and get me. They read me this long speech talking about all the things that they have to do, either that I have the right to either go home, or if I don't want to go home, if I want to continue traveling, that I have to go through special screening. This screening takes about an hour. You have to go through the metal detector multiple times. You have to go through the scanner multiple times. They take every single item out of your bag and swab it and test it for explosive materials. They test your body. They swab your hands, your feet, different parts of your body. They swab and they test it. Then they do a full body pat down, which, I mean, I don't mean like pat, pat, pat. I mean, they put their hands inside your pants, down your pants. They go all the way, and they tell you, they're like, we're going to have to touch your genitals. We're going to have to touch your buttocks. We're going to have to touch whatever. And they do. They press on your genitals. They press on your butt. They go from your foot up to your crotch, and then your other leg, your foot up to your crotch. You have to go like this. They pat your front and your back. They take pictures of your boarding pass. They take pictures of your ID. And again, they swab all of the items inside your bag. Then when you're finally done, and this takes about an hour. And bear in mind, I don't even have TSA pre-check anymore. So you have to do the 35-minute phone call. You have to stand in the security line. You have to go through the special screening, which takes about an hour. And then when you're done with that, they have a team of TSA agents that follow you around the airport. And I'm talking about 8, 9, 10 agents that follow you from security to the gate or anywhere else that you go. Sometimes they have dogs. And they station, and for any of you guys who think that I'm making this up, I'm going to show you pictures and videos in just a second. So hang tight with me. So let's just say that I just got through security and I'm now going to gate, A1 to get on my flight. So I sit down in a chair at gate A1 and they station guards all around me at the terminal. Again, I'll show you pictures right now. This is every single time I travel. This is what it's like. I'll find you some pictures. Okay, so here's me at one airport. Now in this picture, you can see there are, just in this picture, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think I'm counting 8 or 9 TSA agents. There's a dog. If you look to the left of the picture, I've shown that there is a dog over there. Now that's just at one airport somewhere in the country. Let's find another one. Here's another airport that I was at. This is for me. And now notice these two agents on the left. Notice how they have a special machine in between them. That's because, let me see if there's other pictures I can give you too. Oh, here's another airport. This is at another airport. So, one moment. So that machine right there in between these two agents, they bring that to the terminal every time that I fly. So all of these agents come, they station around, they bring this machine to the terminal, and as the passengers are boarding the plane, they stop me, and they, once again, even though I've just gone through hours of screening, they once again swab every single item in my bag and put it into that machine and test it, and they give me another full body pat down in front of all of the other passengers. So by the time the other passengers are watching all of this happen, they're terrified. They're like, who is this lunatic that's getting on the airplane with us? And should we cancel our flight? Because obviously they think they're getting on with the shoe bomber or, some sort of homicidal lunatic. And because, and the resources, I mean, imagine how expensive this must be for them to be doing this. I mean, the number of agents and the resources that they have to dedicate to doing this. But I'm not even finished yet. So let's look at this picture again. Then I get on the plane, and if I have a connecting flight to my final destination, they do all of this again. So I get off at the connecting airport, and I go to the next gate, and there is again a team of TSA agents like this and a machine, and they once again swab all of my items and give me a pat down before I get on the second plane. Now, this happens every single time I travel now because I am on a terrorism watch list because I spent 8 minutes on the outside of the Capitol and was found guilty of a non-violent misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. So for a Class B non-violent misdemeanor charge, I have had my TSA pre-check status revoked because I'm like, has nothing to do with airplanes, but I'm considered a dangerous traveler, and I have to be screened like a domestic terrorist and checked for explosives repeatedly and patted down. All right, so listen to this conversation that I had with a TSA agent. I want you guys to hear what this agent said to me in the questions I asked him. So is there a higher level threat level than Quad S?
No, sir. Quad S that's when the airline marks you for additional screening, basically. So other than that, there's only one threat, basically, and that's when you show up as Quad S, that's what it shows up as.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no real higher.
So that's as high as it gets.
Basically, anything higher, you'd be on a top 10 wanted list or something like that.
On a what?
You'd be on a wanted list or something like that.
A wanted list. So, I'm considered to be a serious threat.
Basically, Quad S is usually, it depends on, it could come for a multitude of reasons. Personally, it could be if you either been charged with a violent felony before, and that's why they mark you as Quad S, or you can fly to a quote-unquote dangerous area. So say if you fly to Syria or someplace like that, they'd mark you as a Quad S or something like that. Or even just working at the airport, you know the inner workings of how the airport works. If you fly as a passenger, it could also show up as a Quad S. So there's a multitude of reasons. Not entirely sure.
Is it possible to get off that list?
Yes, sir. You'd have to contact TSA, so you'd have to go to the TSA website and all that sort of stuff. And then from there, you'll follow all the directions we'll tell you.
Do they tell you why they put you on the list in the first place?
Probably not. Not unless you call someone, I guess.
Okay.
He's there. Just show me boarding pass and get to go.
I like your voice. Where are you from?
Thank you, sir. Good to go. You're from California. Yeah.
You almost sound Southern.
A lot of people, they've been telling me that. You sound Canadian, you sound Inuit, you sound Texan. I don't know.
You should... Okay. So... There you go. So, that was the conversation that I had with the TSA agent. I want to show you one more video. This one's really quick. This one shows you... Excuse me, as I was just saying, when I am actually at the gate to board my plane, they screen me all over again, take everything out of my bag, swab and test everything for explosives, give me another pat down. I want you to take a look at this video because you can see sometimes they do it just outside of the jet bridge, like as you're scanning your boarding pass. Sometimes they actually do it on the jet bridge. And in this case, that's what they were doing. So I took a quick video so that you could see the agents that are there, the machine that they bring into the jet bridge to test all the items in my bag, and the dog. They brought a bomb sniffing dog. So take a look at this.
We don't have one going into yours.
Okay, so these agents are all there for me. And then look inside there. Look, that's a dog. And that's a machine. All those agents are there for me.
I'm going to have.
Yeah, that's a real thing. So, so I discovered the first time I tried to fly after my arrest that was my current situation. And at the same time that I was finding that out, and I want you to bear in mind too, again, as you listen to these stories and what I'm talking about, just the amount of trauma that this, like the PTSD that this brings back up after having the FBI raid your house, put you in handcuffs, throw you in a cell for days, going before a judge, being imprisoned, finding out, getting all these letters from the government, and then you go to the airport and this is happening. And as I'm going through that, I was on my very first trip. I got an email. I was actually on the airplane, on an airplane for the first time, and I got an email from USA Today. And USA Today said, we're doing an article about you and other people who, insurrectionists, who are using crowdfunding to support your legal defense fund. Do you have any comment that you would like to make? Well, no, of course I didn't. Or no, they said specifically, they said, we're doing an article about people like you who are using crowdfunding and utilizing companies like PayPal and Stripe, etc., to facilitate getting funding for your legal defense fund. Do you have any comment? And I didn't answer them. Within 24 hours, I got emails from PayPal, Venmo, Stripe, all saying that I'm permanently banned. For the rest of my life, I can never use PayPal or Venmo or Stripe because I was charged, not even convicted at this point, not even pled guilty, but I was charged with being outside of the Capitol on January 6th. So that was the next thing that happened. And so that leads me to the point where I was telling you that we had lost our payment processors. We had lost all of these. I mean, that had already happened, but we hadn't at that point lost PayPal and Venmo and Stripe. And so we really had to go on a quest at that point to try to, we actually made a decision because the cancellation was so massive across the board. And of course it was all left-wing, progressive companies. So we said, we just can't do business anymore with progressive organizations, individuals, or companies. We just can't. I mean, we cannot do that. And so as we rebuild everything, that's when we came up with what we're calling the Freedom First Initiative. And that is as we were rebuilding our own personal things, our walk-away business, organizational things, we said we're only going to do business with businesses, companies, and individuals and organizations that support a person's right to political freedom and to believe what they believe and vote for who they want to vote for, think what they want to think. We prioritize conservatives. We prioritize people who are like-minded politically. It's not a prerequisite. I'll still work with a company that considers themselves to be, a left-leaning company, as long as they can say to me, we would never cancel somebody because of their political beliefs. But to me, it's just too big of a risk. So I tried to make it a point to just work with conservative companies only. And so we found a conservative-run payment processing company and payment gateway. And through them, we were able to build custom donor portals to rebuild the Walkaway Foundation and the Walkaway Campaign PAC donor portals, and then we had to begin the process of migrating all the donors over that we had lost, because we had gone for months and months with no monthly recurring donations because we had no way to collect them. Because even it's not like people canceled. It wasn't like we lost our donor base. They just there was no way to process the payments. So by the time we got this all set up, which took months, and then we were able to reach out to all the donors and try to reconnect with them, we ended up losing more than 50% of our monthly recurring donors, which was, it still is quite devastating, especially since my case got dragged on for so long. I couldn't even do media. I couldn't do social media. I couldn't do anything to go out there and say, hey, please start giving to Walkaway again. We really need you. We really need your support. A lot of people, I'm sure, didn't even know. They wanted to be giving on a monthly basis, but probably didn't even know that they had been disconnected. And there was no way to get the message out and tell people because my case just kept going on and on and on and on. I mean, it was just such a nightmare. And we didn't want to, I didn't even want to send it in an email. I didn't even want to send an email out being like, hey, this is what we're going through, because it seemed like the only people who were talking were the nasty, vicious trolls who were the ones like calling all these companies and harassing them and being like, you need to cancel Brandon Straka, you need to cancel Walkaway, you need to cancel whatever. And I almost didn't want to even inspire them to let them know that they were succeeding, because there was nothing at the time that we could really do to even counteract, or fight back against anything, because I had no platform and I had no voice. I had no ability to speak out. And so that was a really, really harrowing experience. But anyway, we did end up rebuilding all of those. We started working with a new email delivery company who are amazing. We have these amazing new donor portals which cannot be canceled. It's the most incredible company. They're incredibly safe, incredibly secure. They support me. They support you. They support anybody's right to support Donald Trump or anyone else that they want. They're not going to cancel us ever. And they do a fantastic job, and we have an incredible relationship with them. And I'm going to talk more with them in the coming week and see if they would like us to say who they are, because I don't want them to receive negative attention because they're good people. But we got that back on track. And then something that I think is really cool is, so for those of you who have been monthly recurring supporters of mine, for, either through Patreon or through Podia over the years, well, Patreon banned me, and Podia did not ban me, but Podia only functions using Stripe or PayPal. So although Podia itself is an amazing company and they're really, really good people, I could no longer use it because I couldn't. PayPal and Stripe had already banned me, and there was no way to pull funds that from my monthly recurring donors. So USA Today, a news organization, succeeded in getting my legal defense fund shut down, and they succeeded in getting me banned from PayPal, Venmo, Stripe, and Patreon. And so I had lost all of my revenue streams as I'm going through the most incredibly expensive and traumatic and horrible situation of my life. But through this company that we found, we were able to create new portals for me personally and recreate a product basically that functions exactly the same as Patreon, except for instead of it being owned by a company, I had it custom built and I own it myself, which is amazing. So rather than having to go to Patreon or Podia or anything like that, you can literally just go, I'm going to show you, you can go to brandonstrock.com. Check this out. So this is my new website. And you can go to brandonstrock.com. You can click contribute to my legal defense fund, or you can click donate, or any of these things here. And it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. And through that page, if you look at the bottom, it says ongoing support, and it says one-time support. So if you wanted to just say, you know what, I want Brandon to have $20 because he's going through a really hard time and I want to help, whatever. Or if you say to yourself, I want to give $5 a month or $10 a month or $1 a month. I mean, literally, I always say to people, if you can give $1 a month, I know it doesn't sound like much, but if enough people sign up to just give $1 a month, it is incredibly, incredibly helpful, and it adds up as I go through this horrible situation. So this is something that I own entirely now. No company can ever ban me from this. It's through our conservative payment processors who are not going to cancel me. They're not going to cancel us. So this is a way that we can safely and securely do business and be supported without fear of leftist cancellation. And I really want this to be, I think, the prototype for what conservatives do now going forward. We at Walkaway are calling it the Freedom First Initiative. It's very sad that this is what the world has come to, but the right is not out there canceling people because of their political beliefs or canceling people's right to make money or do their job or be employed or whatever, but that's happening on the other side. And so I want to create a conservative economic ecosystem in which we support one another and support conservative owned and run businesses and make them the priority for what we use when we do business going forward. And so that's what we at Walkaway are calling the Walkaway Freedom First Initiative, and we'll be talking more about that in the coming months as things unfold. Now let's also talk about the new Walkaway campaign website. So we completely revamped our website during this period of time over this last year. So don't shut off this live video yet. Just make a note that after you get done watching the live, you need to go check out the new walkawaycampaign.com. This website is so awesome. We are so proud of it. It's really, really cool. So check out the new walkawaycampaign.com. And if you look up there, that little light blue donate button, smash that donate button. And there's a list that's going to pop up of all the things that we're going to do this year and where your dollars are going to go as you support us when we relaunch. We definitely need your help. And we also in the coming weeks and months are going to be telling you guys again how you can become monthly recurring donors, both to the Walkaway Foundation and the Walkaway Campaign PAC, because we have got to get our donors back. Like I said, we lost more than 50%, not because people got scared or ran away or quit, but because we just got slaughtered with cancellations, and we couldn't even email people. We couldn't process their payments. In the migration process, and it took so long, we ended up losing more than 50%. And so it's going to take us some time to recover, and we're really going to need everyone's help. And I mean it, you guys, when I say literally just sign up for $1 a month. I mean, can you imagine if we got 50,000 people to give $1 a month to the Walkaway Foundation and the Walkaway PAC, we'd be doing really well. I mean, ideally, we want to be bringing in a budget of $1 million to $2 million minimally a year, because that's what's going to allow us to do all the events that we want to do around the country, create our video content. And you guys, so this, I'm really excited to talk to you about this. And we've had to be really quiet this entire year, but we are building, all of you guys probably already know, Facebook banned the Walkaway Campaign group. And this is the thing that people love the most. People miss those video testimonials. They miss the written testimonials. They miss the Walkaway stories, the Walkaway community. We know, we miss it too. And that is why we are going to be launching our own social media platform called Walkaway Social that we've been building this entire year. Again, it's going to be hosted on servers that are owned by conservatives. Our security systems are going to be run through conservative security systems. Every level of this platform, from the bottom to the top, is going to be only conservative run companies involved. So we're not going to be using Amazon or any of these other, we're only using conservatives for hosting, servers, security, everything. But I want to give you, it's not ready yet. It's going to take some time. We still have some building to do. And again, we could really use financial support as we continue to build this. But I want you guys to take a look at the test, where we are right now with the test. We're in the testing phase of Walkaway Social. Take a look at this, because this is what we're going to have to look forward to very, very soon. Take a peek.
Time to explain why I walked away.
How badass is Walkaway Social going to be, you guys? I mean, come on! I mean, that's amazing, right? So this is going to be so cool. We're going to it's going to be better than the Facebook group ever was. Honestly, we're going to own it. Again, it's going to be completely hosted and served. I don't know using servers by people who support us, who are politically like-minded, who appreciate. I mean, we're taking our power back, guys. That's it. Period. We're taking our power back. That's all there is to it. Let's see, what else do I have to show you guys tonight? TSA. Well, I think I depressed you enough with all of that. Oh, I have pictures of Walkaway Social. Sorry. Okay, so take a look. I also, in addition to that little video that I just showed you, so this is the login page where you sign up to get on Walkaway Social. This is so I put that profile picture up around Christmas time. So that is a sample of my profile page on Walkaway Social. As you can see, Brandon Straka has a verified account. Thank you very much. This is when you're searching for the groups, the Walkaway campaign group. Boom, there it is. You can click on the group to join the group. Once you're inside the group, it'll look very much like this. We're still building, you guys, so we still have a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong. It's going to take a little more time, but this is where you'll be able to upload your videos, upload your pictures. You'll be able to like, comment, post, tag your friends. You'll get your notifications up there. You'll be able to private message your friends. You'll be able to sign up for walkaway events. You'll be able to buy tickets to events, or or register for free events. Let's see, do I have more pictures? I thought I had a picture of the events page. Oh, sorry, screwed that up. Anyway, Walkaway Social. People are saying, how do you sign up? It's not ready yet. We're in early testing, so we're gonna need a couple more months, which is perfect because I'm on house arrest until April 28th. So we're definitely gonna need the remainder of the period of my house arrest to continue to test. And it's not perfect. There's still things that need to work out, and I don't want to roll something out until I feel like it's really ready. And then when it finally is ready, we're going to do a huge, massive Walkaway relaunch event. And we were so excited. We're basically going to style this event like an Apple product launch, get a shitload of people together in a theater. We're going to have a gigantic wall screen. We're going to launch Walkaway Social. It's going to be available. We're going to have everyone sign up. We're going to teach the world how to use it. And then boom, it's off to the races, baby. I mean, we're back. Walkaway is back. And by the way, don't think that Walkaway isn't back in the meantime, too. So Walkaway Social is really going to be the jewel in our crown that we're working toward this year. And that's going to be the most, I think, just revolutionary game. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to use the word revolutionary. I used the word revolution this year, and the media took that to mean that I was trying to overthrow the government. So when I say revolutionary, I just want to be clear, I'm not talking about overthrowing the American government, okay? I'm just talking about revolutionary, like new, like innovative, like how words used to mean before the Democrats decided that if you voted for Donald Trump, you can't use terms anymore like fight for your country, or we're going to fight for America, or that this is a revolution of change, or you can't say, if you voted for Trump, you can't say things like that anymore because suddenly now those words are literal. And if you say things like, I'm not going to stop fighting for America, the left thinks that you mean that you're going to, go and try to murder somebody, and that they have to send the FBI into your house and drag you away in chains. But that being said, Walkaway Social is going to be a revolutionary platform and a game changer, because it's going to be the world's first social media platform designed entirely to pull people out of a political ideology that is cancer eating our country from the inside out. Have you ever heard of something more amazing? It's so amazing. You guys are going to love this. You're going to love it, love it, love it. And so we're going to do this huge Apple-style product launch event. We're going to teach the world how to use Walkaway Social. We're going to... Damian Jarrett from the Walkaway Campaign PAC has spent so much time over the last year building out this incredible advocacy and activism program for Walkaway. And now we're really going to have the opportunity to begin launching that and teaching you about these incredible tools that Damian Jarrett has created. It's so amazing, you guys. If you've never done anything in your life, if you've never gone door knocking, registering new voters, anything like that, even if you're a person who really doesn't want to leave your house, I mean, maybe you're not a very mobile person, maybe you don't like to go outside, or maybe because of COVID, you don't want to go outside. We're going to provide you guys with incredible and easy to use tools that are going to revolutionize the way, here we go again, not trying to overthrow the government, not trying to murder anybody, I'm not dog whistling to my followers to do anything dangerous or violent. I'm just mean revolutionary as in innovative, as in game changing. This is going to be a really revolutionary way to teach people how to do activism, even from their own home, from their own computer. And so in the coming weeks, Damien and I will be doing live streamed events to talk to you about our advocacy program. And so some of you are going to hate this, but I just want to let you know. I understand that we hate using platforms like Twitter and we hate using platforms like Facebook and stuff. Trust me, I get it. I'm with you. I'm there. But I did recently discover Twitter Spaces, which is essentially it's a, I don't even know how to describe it. For anyone who doesn't know, basically like you can create a chat room, but there's no video, it's only audio. And if you have a Twitter account, you can join this chat room as an audience member, or the person who creates the space can have whomever they want be speakers. And it probably sounded really lame the way I just described it, but it's not. It's so cool, and they're very popular. I did one the other night where I wasn't even supposed, I just dropped into someone else's space. And when they saw me there, they were like, Brandon Straka's here. And they were like, Brandon, would you like to talk to everyone? And so I said, sure, I'll say a few words. And I started talking, and then the people in the room started retweeting, Brandon Straka's in here. And we had over 500 people listening within minutes. And that was for something that wasn't even planned. It was just spontaneous. So we're going to start doing walkaway events using Twitter Spaces and doing Black town halls, Hispanic town halls, LGBT town halls, all sorts of different walkaway events, just like we did before when we doing live events. But we're going to be able to do them using Twitter Spaces. And in that way, we're going to tap into an entirely new audience. There's going to be thousands of new people learning about walkaway and hearing the walkaway message from, minority people, and we're going to do all different types of themed events. So we're going to be doing walkaway Twitter Spaces events. Guys, I know you don't want to use Twitter. I know you don't want, I don't either. I hate it. But until we launch Walkaway Social and we get that going, we still have to use these platforms. We really don't have choices. So please consider going to Twitter and creating an account and signing up. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't. And when I start advertising over the next few weeks that we're going to be doing walkaway events in Twitter Spaces, just go. Please just go. Please don't give me a hard time. I've already had a hard enough year. We're already going through hell. We've got our work cut out for us. It's going to be an uphill battle relaunching the Walkaway organization. We've lost more than half of our donors. We've got all this shit going on. And so just do me a solid and just if I tell you we're doing a Twitter Spaces event, just go. Just go. I don't need a whole diatribe from you about how Twitter is evil and you hate Twitter, and I do too. We all do. But it's about building our community, getting the message out, and then when we finally are able to switch over to Walkaway Social, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a whole nother thing. Let's watch that Walkaway Social again. Let's watch that one more time. Look at this. How exciting. Take a look.
It's time to explain why I walked away.
Boom! I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for that. So I've been talking for a long time tonight, you guys, and I've told you a lot of stuff. I've told you some dark stuff, some sad stuff, some scary stuff, some exciting stuff. I guess I'm going to wrap this up tonight by telling you, and there's still a lot more that I have to tell you, but I think it's too much for one night. I'm already overwhelmed. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. There's a lot more things I need to tell you in the coming weeks, things that are still going on, that I'm still going through, that they're still putting me through. And I've got my pajama pants on right now, so don't judge me, whatever. But, I mean, this is happening. Yeah, so I'm going to be on home confinement for the next just over 2.5 months. But we're going to make the best of this time. We're going to continue building out Walkaway Social. We're going to do these virtual events. We're going to use Twitter Spaces. We're going to do some really incredible work. And I'm going to keep reminding you guys that we're going to need you to sign up once again to support the work that we're doing. And honestly, I'll be happy if you give $1 a month to the Walkaway Foundation and $1 a month to the Walkaway Campaign Super PAC. And in the coming weeks, we'll explain more about what each organization does, how they function, what the purpose is. So, because they're very, very different. The activities are very different. The two organizations are not connected to each other. They can't be. There's no... One is our more, overtly political organization, and one is limited to educational things. The foundation we use a lot to do things like educating people about truth in media and media analysis, and looking for the truth behind the lie in the news media, and leftist and progressive myths and propaganda. So there's a lot of educational resources that we provide through the foundation. And there was something else I wanted to tell you. Come on. Okay, this is important. Hold on. I had like one closing thought, I feel like. Well, I don't know. But I guess I'll close out by saying, do me a favor. Here's what I'd like you to do. This is not what I was going to say, but that's okay. The best way that you can help me right now is by doing the following things. Go to brandonstrock.com, sign up for my email list. And when you sign up for my email list, this is important, sign up for the email list. It's very fast, takes no, but then you'll get an email, and it'll be a confirmation email. You have to open that, and you have to click subscribe. So I think that's a step that a lot of people miss. They sign up and they hit enter, and then I think it says like, thank you for signing up. But so then they think they're done. But you have to actually go to your email. You'll have an email waiting for you. You have to open it and click, I think it says like verify or confirm or something like that. Then you're signed up. So go to brandonstrock.com, sign up for my emails. Please consider becoming a monthly recurring donor or make a contribution to my legal defense fund. My legal expenses at this point are well into 6 figures, which is absolutely horrifying. I can't even begin to tell you how scary and terrible that is. But if you'd like to help, no amount is too small. You can go to brandonstrock.com, click right there on my homepage. It said, well, I think I've got it right here. It says, contribute to my legal defense fund here. Once you click that button, it will take you to this page, which gives you the options at the bottom to make a one-time support contribution or ongoing support. And if you click ongoing support, you just create a really quick profile. It's going to ask you a few questions very, very fast. Literally takes up 1 minute. And you can choose if you'd like to be a monthly, a yearly, or a weekly recurring contributor. And I encourage people to please consider being a monthly recurring contributor, even if you're only able to give $1 a month. Every dollar adds up and it helps. And I also want you to check out the all-new walkawaycampaign.com. It's so awesome. You guys are going to love this website. It's really, really cool. Now, don't confuse that with Walkaway Social, which hasn't been launched yet because it's not ready. This is just the new website, walkawaycampaign.com. And you know what? You might even see yourself there, because we really tried to make this website all about you guys, all about the people, all about the movement. Now, I know what you're saying. You're probably saying, what people? It's all just Russian bots and paid actors and people from Shutterstock. Shutterstock meme, or what do they call it? Shutterstock? I don't remember. But no, believe it or not, it actually really was real people in the walkaway movement. It was you guys. And so we tried to make this website all about you guys. So it's page after page after page after page of really cool pictures of us doing events and marching and, just doing what we do, which is spreading love, spreading unity, trying to make this country a better place, trying to unite and heal America and trying to wake people the hell up from left-wing propaganda and leftist ideology, which is just the worst, and ultimately ended up putting me in an ankle monitor and a prison cell. Who'd have thought? Who would have thought? I have been writing a book this entire year, and it is going to be published, and it is going to come out, and in it you'll be able to read all of my ramblings of a jailhouse lunatic who is scared for his life. It's pretty sad, it's pretty dark, it's scary stuff. They're probably going to sell my book in the horror section next to Stephen King novels, but it's not a Stephen King novel, it's my real life. But you know what? I'm here. I'm alive. I've lived to see another day. I've survived so far. As I said, I think that this was a campaign to break my spirit. I think it was a campaign to break my relationship with all of you. I think it was a campaign to make you stop trusting me or believing in me, or to start making you think that I'm had become a completely different person who I'm not. You know, it was a terrible thing having to sit back quietly for an entire year while you're described in the media as radicalized, as dangerous, as a violent MAGA influencer who was trying to start a civil war, as a terrorist, as an insurrectionist. And I'm just sitting here in my apartment with a broken heart going, I'm the same guy. I am the same guy as that guy who 4 years ago put out a video, not even yet, but almost 4 years ago, put out a video and said to you, once upon a time, I was a liberal, and told my story and started this beautiful walkaway movement. Walkaway is coming back. The bee is back. I really want to get that started, by the way. Will you guys help me? Hashtag the bee is back. I really, that should be a thing. So, walkaway is back. Hashtag the bee is back. And we're coming back bigger and better and stronger than ever, baby. So, oh, I remember what I was going to say. Okay, sorry. I remember what I was going to say. And this really is the last thing, I promise, because I think we're in like hour 4 of this mini-series. I have gone through an enormous, unbelievable amount of pain, sadness, trauma, post-traumatic stress, and I think oppressive, abusive attack from the full might of the federal government. It has been scary. It's made me feel alone. It's made me feel abandoned. It's made me feel hurt. It's made me feel wounded to the depths of my soul. And it's going to take time for me to get over. So here's what I want to ask of you guys. This is important. This is what I want to say. I want you guys to please just allow me some grace as I get through this. And what I mean by that is, in the coming weeks, maybe even the coming months, although I don't think so, I'm already feeling like I'm bouncing back. But you may see interviews that I do where I'm very emotional. You might see interviews where I seem shell-shocked. You may at times hear me say, or I may write posts that talk about how hurt and betrayed I feel, how angry I feel, how deeply wounded I feel. And I'm just asking that you just let me walk through it. That's it. Because it's not always going to be this way. It won't even be that way for long. But I would be doing a disservice to all of you and to myself if I buried all of this and just slapped a smile on my face and tried to pretend every moment of every day like everything was fine and that I'm fine and that this didn't hurt me at all or cause me any damage whatsoever, because that's not the truth. It did. It damaged me intensely. But I am going to be okay. I will be okay. And I can't wait to get back to work. I can't wait to get back to doing everything that I love so, so much. And I can't wait to be with all of you. And I can't wait to feel hugs and just be with you and be doing amazing work and be out doing walkaway events and be standing shoulder to shoulder and feeling that love again. I can't wait. But in the meantime, I have a lot of dark things that happen to me that I have to work through. And so if you see an interview with me tomorrow or next week and I'm crying or I'm angry or I'm expressing resentment or a feeling of betrayal, please just allow me the grace to heal as I go through this. That's all I ask. But know deep down, I'm going to be okay. I will absolutely be fine because I made a decision to survive this, and my team made a decision to survive this, and we are all going to come back together. And I promise you, we are going to come back bigger and better and stronger than ever before. And I mean it when I say the best is yet to come. It really, really is, even despite everything. Please go to brendanstrock.com, sign up for emails, consider becoming a financial contributor to help support as we go through this. And follow me on all of my social media platforms. That's available at brendanstrock.com. Then when you're done with that, go to walkawaycampaign.com and check out our really, really kick-ass new website where you just might see yourself right there on the webpage. I love you so much, Patriots. Oh my God, now I'm going to start crying. I have missed you terribly in this last year, but we made it through, and the bee is back. So I'll be talking to you again very, very soon. All my love. Thanks for listening to everything I had to say, and it won't be long before you're hearing from me again.